All right, now to the left. It's true. Thank you. All right, let's go to the latest show of tolerance. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene says she was attacked at a restaurant last night because of her political views. This comes just 1 week after she posted a tweet about America's, quote, national divorce. And by the way, plenty of people in the media never went to her and asked her specifically what she meant. We did, detailing a plan to decentralize the federal government. And, of course, the media mob wasted no time attacking her with false accusations that she was talking about secession. Now, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene joins us with more. Congresswoman, welcome back. I want to settle the issue of the national divorce, but first, what happened to you? I've had my own incidents in the course of my career. It's not fun when it happens. What happened?
Well, last night I was having dinner with two members of my staff. And we were preparing for committee hearings today. And then we were approached. A woman came over to my table, came and stood very close to me and started verbally attacking me, calling me all kinds of names. And then another member of her party started screaming, "F you, Marjorie," as loud as he possibly could, over and over and over again inside this restaurant. They have no respect for the restaurant, the staff, and the other people dining there. Here's what it is, Sean. You know, back when Hillary Clinton declared that we're all deplorables, they basically tried to claim that we're second-class citizens simply because we're conservative. And then Maxine Waters with her, wherever you see them, you make a crowd and you surround them and you attack them. This was the dog whistle for all of the people on the left, Democrat voters everywhere, and fully supported by the Democrat Party to attack Republicans in public, no matter what. There is no line they will not cross, and it is disrespectful. They are insane. They are crazy, and it needs to stop right now.
It happened to Sarah Huckabee Sanders. It happened to Senator Cruz. It happened to a lot of prominent conservatives in the country. I'm glad you're okay, Congresswoman. And, you know, honestly, we may be getting to the point where every elected official, especially in Congress, is going to need their own personal security guard, because I think we have to protect every institution and every elected official, regardless of what their politics are. So we had you on to talk about...
Absolutely.
I had you on both radio and TV on the issue of this national divorce. And it was obvious after I interviewed you that people do not understand what you're saying. So I want to get into more detail, which we got into in radio because we had more time. And you are not calling for secession in any way, shape, manner, or form. And I just even said that night, I said, I think the majority of Americans want us to be the United States of America. Let's talk specifically about what you mean. You're not talking about separate countries or secession. Is that correct?
That's right, Sean. And first of all, I want to thank you very much. You are one of the only ones that actually was willing to ask me what I'm talking about. Everyone else just talked about me and assumed what I was saying and accused me of trying to start civil war, accusing me of secession, and all kinds of things. What I'm talking about is reducing the size of our federal government and giving more power and control to our states to be the identity that they want to be, whether it's blue or red, because the division in our country has gotten to a dangerous point, to the point where I experience it on a daily basis. Being attacked in public is no fun, but we also have to remember it's not just elected members of Congress or famous, Republican spokesmen or political commentators like you and others, but it's also regular people, maybe people that wear a MAGA hat that have been attacked for years now. And we are fed up. We're fed up with Democrat policies. We're fed up with the woke ideology being shoved down our throat. And we're tired of our children being brainwashed into these same ideas. We want our own safe space, and we deserve it. And the federal government is so out of control. The debt is insane. We need to take power away from the federal government and rein that entity back in and truly let the states have the power and control that they deserve.
You're talking about reducing the size, power of the federal government, giving more power to the states. In other words, federalism is a good thing. What would you say about cases like we see counties in Oregon wanting to join Idaho? We see Buckhead. I used to live in Georgia for 4 years, where you are. Buckhead wants to separate, for example, from Atlanta, have their own police department, their own government. So you have these examples where people want to join up with another state or another county or another town. Should they have the right to do that?
Absolutely. Don't we believe in freedom in America? Isn't that what America is all about? It's the people and their choices and the freedom to do so. I'm a huge supporter of Buckhead City. You know, Buckhead is a victim of the crime in Atlanta, just like the crime in Chicago. And let me tell you something about Atlanta. Atlanta has a higher murder rate now than Chicago. And look at what's happening to Mayor Lori Lightfoot. She is being kicked out of being the mayor of Chicago. And hopefully they finish the job, because she doesn't deserve that position. She ruined that city with crime. And Buckhead is fed up with it.
I'm hoping she gets her ass kicked tonight and loses. I really am. Sorry, I'm just being honest.
Me too.
Let me ask you this. I think this is really important. I don't see middle ground. For example, if you want to defund and dismantle the police and you want no bail, how do you reconcile that with the rest of us that believe in law and order and safety and security as a prerequisite to pursue happiness? How do you reconcile those that want open borders and those that want the laws enforced and secure borders? How do you reconcile energy independence and those that are willing to, like Joe Biden, import 3 million barrels of oil from Venezuela and make Venezuela rich again, when we can be creating high-paying career jobs in America and it being good for our national security? How do you reconcile these major differences?
Well, just as you just stated, you know what? You can't reconcile those major differences because they do not come together. And that's how far apart we are today with the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. But you know what? Republican voters are sick and tired of it. Conservative Americans are fed up with it. There are so many Americans today that whether they vote or not, they are sick and tired of the political divide and the political pendulum that is swinging back and forth and destroying this country. It's time for us to have our own ideas and be protected in our own states. And that's why I'm calling for a reduction in the federal government, the power, the size, and the spending power that has made the American people fed up and disgusted.
Congresswoman, number one, we're glad you're safe. Number two, we're glad you had a chance to clarify all of this, although I thought it was pretty straightforward when we discussed it the last time. Thank you for being with us.
Subscribe to the Fox News YouTube channel to catch our nightly opens, stories that are changing the world and changing your life. From Tucker Carlson tonight.